because in holographic breathing you've got this gentle motion of the jaw, which is very similar to a subtle form of suckling. And we'll bring in the holographic breathing, and then rather than working with it as a gentle motion of the jaw, we're going to more connect to that suckling effect and how that affects through the whole body, and specifically how it relates to the pelvic floor, because this can be useful in birth, that you learn how to move the pelvic floor. So today we're going to be working with our inner birth. For the new people, I'm going to teach holographic breathing, and then there'll be a guided meditation where we will be working with inner birth dynamics to do with ourselves, but also this can be used for real birth. And when holographic breathing first came through, perchance, one lady, she broke her arm, and I taught her holographic breathing. She didn't break her arm because I taught holographic breathing, but she broke her arm. And she was speaking to me about it afterwards, and she said the painkillers weren't working. She said the only thing that really helped, that cleared the pain, was holographic breathing, which I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I started having students who wanted to conceive, they wanted to get pregnant, and I taught different holographic breathing journeys to them, and they did. They got pregnant. It wasn't my fault. It was the journeys and their husbands that did it. They didn't come to me and say, I want to get pregnant, and I helped them out. To make things clear, I taught them holographic breathing and they sorted themselves out. And then there were some other women who were pregnant and wanted to find out about using holographic breathing in that. So I said, well, we can try, we can see what happens. I can teach you to loosen up the pelvis, how to work with the womb, different journeys to do with birth that I'd already done for myself. I can teach you those. There wasn't a huge amount of mothers, but all of them that I taught had a pretty well pain-free birth, and every single one was natural with no interventions. So holographic breathing may be of great service to the world. If you can heal birth, you can heal the world. It's one of these things that's been really clamped down upon. And if it can be brought more into the light, and women can have empowered births, and it can be in a more meditative and relaxed way, then the babies are relaxed. Also, one of the things the mother said was, my child is really content. It's not making all the noise that the other children have made after birth. It's just a content baby. So it makes a big difference to the mother, and it makes a big difference. I think it makes a huge difference to the baby. I think this is a way, if it catches on and is helpful in birth, this is kind of a way of bringing through a new race of humans, really, kind of holographic humans. So I didn't teach a huge amount of people, but I did keep on getting feedback from people who had just learned the very first bit, and that was all. And they'd tried it in birth, and it had been hugely helpful. And we do have one of those people here tonight. Cherlyn did that. I taught her holographic breathing about 21 years ago, and we occasionally had emails between each other, but I didn't realize until recently that she'd given birth using it. And I did ask her earlier if she wanted to say anything, and she did. So I'm going to put my headphones in. And anything you want to say in that arena about your own birth or how you feel about it is absolutely fine. And I don't really know too much about the birth, so this isn't being pre-done in any way. So let me make it so you can turn your mic on. Okay.
Hey, yeah, I'm trying to remember how, like, how I made the connection, because from the time that we met and you taught me how to do it and we did a session in person, I had been practicing it, not every day, but regularly, regularly enough to know that it was a really transformative practice that could, while not, well, I'm sure it could just send you out of your body, but let's say you had a choice to be more of an observer about your body rather than just sort of chained to it. And I'm trying to remember where along the line I learned that the jaw and the pelvis were so interconnected, that those movements were and it's not that I disbelieved that, but it wasn't until I saw, so while I was pregnant, my former husband almost died in surgery and had to have just a big to-do and long recovery. And he did a type of body work we had done to him called myofascial release. And like very soon after he got out of the hospital for an extended period. Anyway, it wasn't until I saw the practitioner working on his jaw, and he tried to stop his jaw from moving, and his legs started shaking. And then when he stopped his legs shaking, his jaw started vibrating. Like it was like, and I saw it myself, that these two things are really linked. Again, not that I didn't believe it, but seeing it that vividly was really remarkable. And so I did it throughout my pregnancy, and then the birth itself was fairly, straightforward. I'd had 2 children before that. And this one it was about 11 hours. It was one of those things where your labor stops when we got to our destination, and that was it. So I just kind of quietly did the holographic breathing and sat in a chair, and I just sat there soundlessly for 11 hours and breathed,
Oh, wow.
carrying on. And, I mean, it's, I wouldn't, I think the pain is the wrong word to use. It's power, this power is coming through your body, and your circuit's just not used to it, right? We don't experience that on a daily basis, or most people don't. So learning how to deal with that without getting emotionally distraught, I think is kind of the key. And it just helped me kind of channel that power. I would imagine it coming through my jaw down, and then like down into the ground, down through my legs, down into my feet. It just felt like I was part of it enabled me to be part of a circuit more, but like I said, yeah, I just was completely silent, sat in a chair, and then I just knew when it was time. But when it was, and this is the warning I would give, it was very fast, because the pelvis was just so ready, so I was in like a place kind of removed from the birthing center, because my labor had stopped. So if I was coaching a woman, I would say probably, you probably want to stay put. Once it was ready. And the birth was just so quick and totally, it was simple, and it was 100% healthy. There was almost no blood. The baby didn't cry. He was born in the water. So
It didn't cry? The baby didn't cry? Ah,
No.
see? Holographic baby, don't cry.
Yep. He did actually talk though, which was kind of strange.
What, English? He said he spoke English when he came out. Hey, Mum, that was really painful. What are you doing?
It was just it's like one of those mythologies you have, about people, but I was still because it was a water birth. I was still in the tub and he was out with whomever. And the midwives were there, and he just said like in an adult voice, as plain as day, "Hi." And everybody just kind of turned around and looked, because it was like this adult voice like came out of baby. It was like one of those silly movies where the babies talk, and we all kind of disbelieved. We were like, did that just happen? Or, kind of turned back around. And then a few moments later, he says, "Hey." It was just, he didn't keep talking, but it was definitely like, you felt like you were in the presence of a soul, not a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are the cliff notes, but it was so effective. And again, like helping me to channel that power, and for a quick birth, for a healthy birth. And so I've remembered that, and I really would love to do whatever I can to help other women to experience that. So thanks.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Cherlyn, or Cherlyn, however it's meant to be said. All right. Thank you so much. I will now just make it. So quite a few, I don't know how many women have given birth, in the same way I don't know how many people are doing holographic breathing, because not, I mean, my new YouTube channel, I think it's had nearly 200,000 views now. It's a lot anyway. And most of the videos teach holographic breathing. And there's a lot of people like Cherlyn who just learn, and then I don't really hear from them, and they're just doing it as part of their lives. And I guess people are using it for birth. But as you see, Cherlyn didn't have any special teaching, but it was really helpful for that. Holographic breathing seems to key into birth. And a lot of breathwork is it's a bit like doing aerobics, a lot of breathwork. I mean, some is quiet, but a lot of it is quite strong, where holographic breathing, there's a very soft and spiritual side to it. So it gives, women can have a spiritual birth, they can have a relaxed birth and a soft birth, rather than it may not be for everybody. Some people may want a very active birth. And also what I'm talking about giving birth, if anyone decides to use this for birth, I'm just giving information. None of this is advice. If people want to use holographic breathing for giving birth, make sure you talk to your doctor about it, or whoever, your midwife, because this isn't advice, this is just information that you can use or not use, but do your own research. I'm not responsible if it goes wrong. It's up to you to take responsibility for your own birth. I will give the information, and if you want to use it, great. So what I'm looking for really is, and there's a birth platform that actually want me to teach on that, and a cranial platform teaching this for birth. So I think it is going to go out, and I'm interested in the getting information back on, because the information so far has been really, really helpful and positive. I haven't heard a single negative outcome, and Cherlyn's birth was very quick, but also other ones it kind of seems to cover the whole span of birth. But for me, one of the really helpful aspects of holographic breathing in birth is, I think, from what I've been told, the main thing that goes wrong in birth is if the birth is a long one. And, you know, maybe the mother goes into labour just coming up to night time, so she's awake all that night, maybe the whole next night, and just becomes worn out and doesn't have the strength to properly give birth. And with holographic breathing, because it does seem to put women in a very relaxed state, and most say it, or all of the ones that I've taught, is it massively brings down the actual pain and discomfort of birth. So if the women are relaxed and not in discomfort and in a more meditative state, then it's fine to sleep between contractions. And it's not advice again, but information for me. That is a wonderful way of going about birth. Is I'm not a fan of this whole thing of having the family there and everyone in the room with you. I mean, that might be nice for you, but for me, birth is a shamanistic, spiritual type occurrence. And unless the people around you are congenial to that space, it's quite good to be alone or with a midwife or with a doula who can just sit there and allow you to be in this shamanistic space and just let the power of birth take over. And holographic breathing unites with that really well. I used to live on a boat, and I was parked at the side of the field, and I kept an eye on the cows for the farmer. Well, they were baby beef or whatever they were. They didn't have udders. They were the baby men calves, whatever. No, they were women. They must have been women because they gave birth, sorry. But it wasn't a dairy farm anyway. They gave birth. And as soon as they were going to labour, their tail would go up. They were mooing like mad. And none of the other cows took a blind bit of notice. They were just munching away, and there was Mrs. Cow running around with it. And at a certain point, she would just go off into a corner, and none of them would watch her go, and they would just carry on munching and work their way up the field. And she did it alone in a corner of the field, away from everyone. But as soon as she had given birth, as soon as the calf would out, all of the other cows would know, and they would just rush across the field, and they'd be licking the calf and welcoming it back in and everything. So for me, it's quite nice to have a spiritual, relaxed, meditative type birth, which is something I think that holographic breathing can bring to it. Now again, it's just information. You may want to do it another way. You may have several types of breathing, and holographic breathing may not be for the one for you, but you can learn holographic breathing. You can try it. You can try it in your birth. I'm going to do a practitioner training where I will teach people to teach all of the different birth journeys and way of working with the pelvis around birth, so people can go out and actually teach pregnant mothers holographic breathing and these different ways of working with birth. And you can have a huge effect on people, on someone's whole life, on the whole globe. If birth changes, everything changes. So today we're going to be, now that I'm going to be teaching holographic breathing, so there's not a lot of time other than that. We definitely can't go into a long journey around birth, because generally they're like 40 minutes to an hour long, the birth journeys that I teach. But what I'm going to teach is, because in holographic breathing you've got this gentle motion of the jaw, which is very similar to a subtle form of suckling. And we'll bring in the holographic breathing, and then rather than working with it as a gentle motion of the jaw, we're going to more connect to that suckling effect and how that affects through the whole body, and specifically how it relates to the pelvic floor, because this can be useful in birth, that you learn how to move the pelvic floor. Again, just information. My view of how 99% of breathing with the pelvic floor goes, I think that isn't good for birth, and I think they've got it back to front, where you breathe in and then you breathe out and then you tighten up the pelvic floor. Again, I can't 100% validate it, but I heard from someone who's very well versed around pregnancy and birth, and she said the mothers were practicing that with their pelvic floor, and they were ending up having really hard births because the pelvic floor just becomes so tight. It was strong, but it had become tight. And for me, it works the other way round. The pelvic floor is rising on the in-breath and dropping on the out-breath. It's the opposite way around. I've been talking about that for 20 years, and now I've just started noticing that some cranial sacral therapists and cranial osteopaths are starting to agree with me. So I'm going to teach that of a way of the pelvic floor being fluid and the diaphragm being fluid, which I think is hugely helpful, that mothers and everybody and us really keep breathing with the diaphragm through pregnancy. Maybe women are scared, oh, it's going to push on the baby, but good, your diaphragm breathing up and down on the baby is actually teaching the baby how to breathe. I'm just going to show you of how holographic breathing relates a bit through pregnancy as a breath, a bit through birth, and then how it relates. And I'm going to show you how to do that with a blue balloon. Our experience of the breath generally is that the whole body is expanding on the in-breath and contracting on the out-breath. That is so of the lungs, but that isn't so of the rest of the body. For the rest of the body, for it to expand in one direction, it has to shorten in the other direction because it stays the same way. And in the abdomen, the top diaphragm is coming down. And my experience and the way that I teach it is that the pelvic floor is at the very least holding, it's tightening to take the pressure, and it's breathing in and there's the expansion. Breathing out and it lengthens. So it's not like the pelvic floor drops on the in-breath. It's not breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. They're squeezing together, and you can't feel the diaphragms. They don't have this sensory thing. So it's hard to tell. You know, people know their diaphragm is dropping because their abdomen is expanding. They feel it in the abdomen, but it's the muscles from the top, through the back, around the spine, in the pelvic floor, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. In the uterus, when the baby is bigger and the uterus is coming up under the diaphragm, the same thing is happening to the baby. The baby's in the uterus, it's getting large, it's filling the uterus. The baby breathing in, breathing out. The baby is getting the breath imprinted into it by the mother, in its shortening and widening on the in-breath, lengthening and narrowing on the out-breath. So the baby is being squeezed and having the breath imprinted into it on a cellular level from the mother. And this is one of the reasons that I think with holographic breathing it's good to slow it down. Because if you think about it, you know, a big animal like an elephant, it will breathe much more slowly than a small animal. It's like the bigger you get, the slower the heartbeat and the slower your breath, breathing in, breathing out. Well, for a baby in the womb, the mother is like, you know, 8-10 times as big. So the length of the breath seems longer. Imagine yourself if you were standing next to a giant who was 10 times the height of you. Their breathing would be slower than your breathing. And that's the same to the baby in the womb. This breathing of the mother's diaphragm is slow for the baby. It's much slower relatively. And I think because I think we are breathing holographically, with holographic breathing in the womb, and I think we're being imprinted by the speed of the mother's breath. That means when we've grown, to actually connect to that rhythm again, the breath must be much slower. So it's good when we're working with this to slow, not with all of holographic breathing, but these particular aspects, it's quite good to slow them down. So the baby is being squished and lengthened each time the mother is breathing. So it's really good for the mother to work with her diaphragm and understand how the pelvic floor is working, that they're squeezing together, and that is imparting the breath into the baby. It's making the pelvic floor more subtle and strong. It's not making it hard, and it's making her diaphragm strong. And all of these things are just good for general health as well. Then the contractions come. Contraction is the in-breath, breathing in. The baby is being squished and widening. Between contractions is the out-breath. It's the muscles of the womb are lengthways, so they're pulling down. The baby's getting squeezed top to bottom, and they're relaxing up, and the baby's lengthening. And this is now more powerfully imparting the physical motion of the breath into the baby. It's making the baby ready for birth. And we do, many people have done it where we give birth to ourselves through our own pelvis and come out, and then we breastfeed ourselves, and we're the mother and the baby. And then when you come out and you start suckling, you are doing holographic breathing, and that the holographic breathing instates shortening and widening, lengthening and narrowing through the whole body. And I think this is the same as craniosacral therapy, or at least Sutherland, the originator of it, said the body shortens and widens on the in-breath, the body lengthens and narrows. So we're going to be looking at a bit that today with the suckling motion of holographic breathing, how that instates this breathing motion through the whole body of the baby. And I think that's one of the reasons it works so well in pregnancy. And I was teaching, it was a group of about 15 or 20 mothers, and I've been invited by a birth guru lady to teach these mothers. So there were a lot of them there, and I started teaching the holographic breathing, and one after the other they said, the baby knows that I'm doing this. And they said that the babies will get really excited when they first started doing it, and then the babies would just relax and drop down, and they feel the baby relaxing down lower in the womb, and the baby would just become really splayed out. So the babies recognized it, and then when it becomes part of the birth, they recognize it before, and they're doing it. They're getting the breath imparted on them, and they're naturally doing holographic breathing, and then the suckling is producing that same motion through the body. And then I don't know what happens. I've had many mothers saying, my baby is doing holographic breathing. You know, so maybe babies are doing this movement. I'm going to be teaching of the hands and feet. You can see kittens doing that. You can see baby there doing this movement. That is totally part of holographic breathing and this suckling motion. And this suckling motion reconstructs the whole cranium. You know, babies get well and truly squished in birth. And then the suckling motion, they reorganize all of the bones of the face and cranium, of the spine, of the pelvis, and all of their systems start working. It's really orientating them back in. And us doing holographic breathing, we're continually doing that. We're adjusting all of the bones, they're breathing, they're moving, it's getting everything working. So we're going to look at that and suckling. And yeah, as I said, if this goes out, mothers can use this. They can learn the holographic breathing that I'm teaching here. Do get proper advice. This is just, it's not advice, this is just information. And try it out. And if you do, if you're a mother and you use it, let me know afterwards. Say, yeah, no, that was rubbish. Oh, yeah, that worked. That was good. So, people's image of the pelvis floor is normally a little bit inaccurate. Most people think the pelvis floor is kind of from the rectum to the kind of vagina or the penis or the pubic bone at the front. This is more the urogenital diaphragm under the pelvis, but the whole inside, when I'm talking about the pelvic floor, I'm talking about this whole bowl within the pelvis, which is much, much bigger than that and fills out the whole pelvis. The pelvic diaphragm is this much bigger thing, and it's more on the inside, feeling the urogenital diaphragm and where the rectum is. That's more on the outside, and we work with that in different ways as well. But when you come in contact with the pelvic floor or the pelvic diaphragm from the inside, it holds the experience of birth. And one of our, as I described, one of our birth journeys had just happened really near the beginning of holographic breathing. I realized I could breathe with my pelvis and different bones. And I was working with it, and suddenly, rather than being on the outside, I was on the inside. And then all of a sudden, as I became aware of the inside breathing and the pelvic floor breathing, it's like I just went down head first and I was in my own pelvis being born, and I could feel this whole birth prayer and the contractions and everything started happening. And I thought, oh my God. And then my head dropped and it was like, it got gripped as it came inside the lower pelvis, like clunk. Oh my God, I can't move. But then with the holographic breathing, the bones are breathing, the cranium's breathing, all of the different bones of the cranium aligning with the different bones. And I was able to breathe my way through and breathe my way out. And it wasn't a copy or a memory of my, it was a new birth, because I could go at my own speed, and if my pelvis was getting stuck, I could breathe with the pelvis to release it. If my head was getting stuck, I breathe with my head, and working through all of these different energies and different things. This is, the mothers who do that journey, they find that so useful, the new mothers, because it's like they give birth to themselves, and it's like they've had a trial run before, and they've cleared the karma, you know, that may have been in their pelvis, but would have been in their pelvis for generations and generations and generations. Think about it. A mother gives birth and she's had some kind of trauma in her pelvis or in her body, The baby's head is going through the pelvis, so the baby's cranium picks up that trauma in the cranium, and the cranium and pelvis mirror each other, so it's mirrored into the baby's pelvis. The baby is born. If it's a girl, when she's old enough, she gives birth, and she's got that trait from her mother in her pelvis and cranium. She gives birth, her babies have got that trait in one way or another. And it's just passed on from generation to generation to generation to generation, until holographic breathing came along and we learned how to breathe ourselves. And in that, you are no longer a victim in that. You're no longer at cause of being born by a mother and circumstances outside of each other. You're being born as the mother, you're being born as the baby, as a new birth, and all of these different energies and karmas, rather than trying to play them out separately, they just mirror. It's amazing. They just mirror back and forth between the mother and baby. It's a yin yang. It's a universal. Mother, baby is a universal yin yang. You can't clear your birth trauma or things separately. So I'm just going to clear me being born. You can't do it. And as a mother, you can't clear the trauma of birth just on your own. You have to include both, because when they come together, all of the energies just mirror backwards and forwards, because all of the energies of the bones and cranium are relating to the energy, and it breaks that connection that's passed down the female lineage, mother to daughter, 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 and then a boy or a girl in the last one. But it's just passed down through the pelvis to the cranium, to the pelvis, to the cranium, to the pelvis, and they mirror. But you do it on your own, it short circuits that, and you can have a new birth. You can have a birth where you're not passing that karma. And that's a huge gift to give to your child. So we're not doing that today, but that is there to be said. But there's lots of journeys like that that I teach, and ways of working with the pelvis. I want to show a picture of the pelvic floor so you can see. See, in this picture, see the pelvic floor, it's coming right up. This is the spine, the sacrum coming up into the spine here. This is the rectum. Can you see the rectum is actually central in the pelvic floor? It's not right at the back. And the pelvic diaphragm fills the whole pelvis. And this one's a girl. You can see the hole there for the vagina. And the urethra there, but it fills up inside the whole pelvis. The rectum is actually central. This is the sacrum coming down here, and all of the muscles fill up the whole pelvis. And when you come in contact with that from the inside, that holds the experience of being birthed. You feel the pelvis from the outside or from the urogenital diaphragm underside. That doesn't so much have the experience of birth, but you feel the pelvis from the inside. To one level or another, you're going to start working through your birth process. But you're not just working through it as the baby, you're working through it as, for men and women. This isn't just for women, this is for men and women. Men can feel their inner woman. They've had all of that karma of being women and being in their mothers from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. Well, I can. Maybe I'm gay. But I can remember when I was about, I don't know what, I was 21, something like that, and I'd come off drugs and I was just naturally going into meditation. I was just walking along the road. And suddenly I thought, my God, I've got tits. I could feel these tits going up and down. I could feel myself as having a vagina. Maybe I'm just different, but I can guess most men can bring themselves into the energies of their inner woman, and most women can feel the qualities of their inner male. So well, listen, I've discovered this and I'm a man, so it can't be that hard. Well, there it is from under. Is that from above or that's it from underneath? Yeah. So it's not so big from underneath. This is the rectum there. That is the sacrum. It goes, you know, right inside. So this is more the showing bit, and it's even cut away. It's the main bit of the pelvic floor you feel there is actually a sheet across here. So we're more working with the inside bit from the inside, and we're going to find out how suckling, this suckling motion in holographic breathing, actually relates to the inside of the pelvic floor and the rectum. And the rectum is central, and we'll start getting that breathing motion. So mothers giving birth, you don't have to change your pelvic floor into a sheet of metal, try to strengthen it up for birth. You can just work with this so it becomes elastic. So it's movable. You don't want it stronger, you want it toned, relaxed and movable. And this is much more moving it in the way, as far as I'm concerned, that is meant to go. You can make up your own minds. You might want to do it the other way. But for holographic breathing, as that pelvic floor is rising, that ignites the Kundalini. And as it's relaxing, just letting go, and then as it's pulling up, you get, or I do, ping, light in the brain, and it relaxes. So I can feel that I'm going on quite a lot. I could talk about birth for months. You think I'm bad normally, but I could talk about birth for months. But I will talk about how to do holographic breathing. I will demonstrate holographic breathing. Then there will be a guided meditation where I'll talk you into the holographic breathing. Then we'll work with this more kind of primordial, spiritual movement, suckling motion, how it works through the face, through the whole body, how it relates to the pelvic floor. All right, so let's do that. And all of this, you can teach it as teaching somebody how to give birth. Well, not somebody, generally a mother. Generally, the people giving birth are mothers. I can't say that, you know. To be PC now, I have to say people having babies. I can't say mothers having babies because that's sexist. Men are allowed to have babies as well. But I'm going to say mothers. I'm not going to get caught up in this gender thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's mothers give birth. And men help them get pregnant. Then leave. So quite often. I know I'm funny, different. Certainly got some karma there. All right, so holographic breathing. So I'm so excited that we're doing this for birth now. I just feel the energy. The universe really wants this, and there's some real need and help, and that this can be like embarking into the new age. Well, I'm barking anyway. Holographic breathing. The lips are relaxed and closed. The tongue is on the roof of the mouth. Now, it's the upper surface of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth. The tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth, and as much of the tongue on the roof of the mouth as feels comfortable. So the breath is through the nose. You get this light seal of the lips. You get this light seal of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. breath is through the nose, and then on the in-breath, the jaw is very gently opening, a quarter of an inch, a few millimeters. On the out-breath, the jaw is closing. Now, we start off doing that, but at a certain point there's an activation, and the movement of the muscles of the breath, the movement of the diaphragm is what's moving the jaw, and so it just becomes part of the breath. It's like removing an obstacle, and suddenly you're breathing in a whole new way. The whole face starts moving and breathing, the whole cranium starts moving and breathing, the pelvis starts breathing, everything starts breathing, and then you can feel the spiritual alignments, the kundalini, the organs starting to light up. This whole healing myriad modality just naturally starts working. It's an awakening. Now, I'm just going to demonstrate it so you can see it's a very subtle motion of the jaw. You probably won't be able to see it, but what you will be able to see is that it is deeply relaxing. It's not one of these fast breaths. It takes you into a deep relaxation very quickly. So I'm just going to do a few breaths. So as soon as you start, it becomes deeply, deeply relaxing and transformational. For the new people, there's no specific speed. You're not trying to do big, deep breaths or fast breaths or slow breaths. It is not connective breath. And a lot of breath workers think everything connected breath is not connective breath. There's just the natural pause between the breaths. And I put people to sleep. Holographic breathing puts people to sleep. So when you get the combination of both, people end up passing out. But you need to stay awake through the initial steps to get that activation, so that holographic breathing just starts and is going on its own. Because if you don't get to that point, you're not doing, it's a miss is as good as a mile. Unless you get all of the different bits working, it activates, then something new happens, you've got a new breath. So you actually need to stay awake through that first bit to get the activation. So for new people, what I advise is to be sitting up until you get the activation. Then it's fine to lie down or do it in whatever position you want to do it in, but you stand much better chance of staying awake if you're actually seated. There is a movement of the hands and feet. I've lost my little foot model, but basically with both the hands and feet, breathing in, breathing out. And the arms and feet, legs and arms are straight. It's breathing in, it's opening, breathing out, it's cupping. It's like the diaphragm. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And it's not like you're doing this. The arms will be down by your side and the legs will be out straight. And I will start kind of flapping the foot, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, but then it stays flat and it's spreading. Breathing in, flapping is pulling up the front and then relaxing the front, but then you pull up the back at the same time, and the foot stays level, just splays out on the in-breath, cups on the out-breath. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. But I'll talk you into that just with the pelvis We have a dirty pelvis. I'll have to wash it some point. Now, generally, the pelvic floor, you've got the urogenital diaphragm here, and then coming back to the rectum here is this area here, but you've got the whole inside of this is the pelvic diaphragm. It's a big bowl inside, and as I say, as soon as you come inside, you start feeling that. We're not going to go into it. There's this feeling is, well, what happened to me was, it's like, boom, in I went. My head went inside my own pelvis, and you can feel this whole contractions and birth process all starting. And I did, it was a shock. Oh my God, it's going to crush my brains out. But just by breathing it and loosening it, it all just cleared. And oh my God, and I wasn't expecting to come out. I wasn't expecting to be given birth. Suddenly I'm out of myself and on front. I said, geez, I've just given birth to myself. I brought myself back to myself, breastfed myself, and then merged together, but for another time, especially for people who want to do the training and work with other people with that, and also mothers who want to give birth with that. Wouldn't that be great if all people around the world, and I don't think it's so difficult, people can go into in depth like I'm talking about here, but like with Cherlyn, she'd just learned the first bit, and she had the wherewithal to do it in her own way through her own birth, and it empowered her. So you know, it's good. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it. I mean, it's good to do it in a non-medical way where you're empowered your own birth. You know, just a few people you love around you. Obviously, you need the hospitals or whatever there in case of emergency. Really nice to have a midwife who understands you, and you can do it at home or do it in a natural way in a hospital. But holographic breathing can help have a meditative, shamanistic. I don't know what woman shaman is. A shama womanistic. Shewu mystic. One of those. Here we go into a new universe, a new world of holographic babies. And holographic breathing practitioners and people. All right, so closing your eyes. I've got to slow down. I'm whizzing along like I'm on speed or something. So closing your eyes. And if you know holographic breathing, relaxing into holographic breathing. If you're new, just a gentle, easy breath. And we're going to bring in some resources, sending a smile, sending some energy to the earth, and allowing the earth to say hello back. Allowing yourself to receive from the earth. Notice what that feels like in your body and in your energy. And sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self and the beneficial energies. The beneficial energies are any higher teachers, spiritual energies. As long as it's beneficial, saying hello to those, saying hello to the higher self and the beneficial energies, sending a smile to the higher self and the beneficial energies, and allowing the higher self and the beneficial energies to say hello back. Notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies. And asking the earth, the higher self, and the beneficial energies to be with you through the whole webinar as a resource and a healing energy. So the lips are relaxed and closed. The upper surface of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth. The tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth. And it's as much as the tongue on the roof of the mouth as feels comfortable. It mustn't be stressful, just having as much as feels comfortable. So the lips are closed, the tongue is on the roof of the mouth, the breath is through the nose. And then we're not aligning it with the breath yet, but just opening and closing the jaw a small amount. The movement of the jaw is about half a finger width. It's a small motion, just opening and closing the jaw to get the experience that you can move the jaw, you can open and close the jaw, and that your lips can stay closed and that your tongue can stay on the roof of the mouth. It's a bit like chewing. We can chew food and keep our lips closed. Now slowing that down, slowly opening the jaw, slowly closing the jaw. And when you feel ready, we're going to connect that to the breath. So as the jaw is slowly relaxing open, the breath comes in through the nose. As the jaw is slowly closing, the breath comes out through the nose. So we're starting with the jaw and the breath is following. The jaw relaxing open, draws the breath in through the nose. The jaw is relaxing closed, it exhales the breath out through the nose. It's a small motion of the jaw. The lips stay closed all of the time. The tongue stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time. Jaw relaxes open, the breath comes in through the nose. Jaw relaxes closed, the breath leaves through the nose. The teeth are separating on the in-breath, they're coming apart. On the out-breath, they're floating back together, but there's no pressure between the teeth. They just gently float together. The jaw relaxes open, the jaw relaxes closed. And the teeth can either just lightly touch or they can just be slightly separate, whichever feels best. But the jaw stays fluid. Relax the back of the neck, relax the back of the head. Now we're going to change the gestalt. We're going to now, rather than starting from the jaw affecting the breath, we're going to bring the awareness to the breath and the jaw following. As the breath comes in through the nose, the jaw relaxes open. As the breath leaves through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed. Notice how everything gets lighter, more meditative, more airy, and you may start feeling energies releasing through your face and your brain and your spine. On the in-breath, the jaw relaxes open. On the out breath, the jaw relaxes closed. The lips stay closed all of the time. The tongue stays on the roof of the mouth, and you start moving into this shamanistic, magical, kundalini, energetic, meditative type place. Breathing in, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, the jaw relaxes closed. The tongue stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time. The lips stay closed all of the time. As we're going to move, we're going to integrate it with the body now. As the chest is open, the jaw relaxes open. As the chest closes, the jaw relaxes closed. Just the movement of the chest and the breath is moving the jaw. The abdomen is opening, the jaw relaxes open with it. The abdomen is closing, the jaw relaxes closed with it. You can drop down right into the pelvis. The pelvis is opening on the in-breath. The pelvis is closing on the out-breath. Notice you can feel the inside of your pelvis opening out on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. Notice in a very subtle way your whole face has started to breathe. Your cranium has started to breathe. Your brain has started to breathe. Your pelvis in a very soft, gentle way, just opening and closing with the breath. Also feeling it through your arms and legs, that gently, it's like every cell is opening on the in-breath. Every cell is closing on the out-breath, and include it out through your limbs and hands and feet. And you move into a one breath, a holographic breath, a breath aligned with the earth, a breath aligned with the universe, the spiritual realms, the higher self, and the healing of moving into the new age. Notice how easy holographic breathing has become just a natural thing, and how resourcing it feels. It feels like you're being fed. And we're going to start with also include the movement of the legs. If you're new, if you want to lie down, it's fine. If you've got it and it's working and relaxed, you can lie down. Or you can just stay sitting, whatever feels the best. But you need your legs splayed out. And then on the in-breath, the toes are pulling up or the foot is flapping up. On the out-breath, the foot is flapping down, so it kind of pulls the toes up on the in-breath. So work right up through the front of your body. Relaxes the toes down on the out-breath. And then become aware of the heels. So it's a bit like you're pulling the toes up. You're also pulling the heels up through the back of the leg. So the front of the leg is tensioning to pull the toes up. The back of the leg is tensioning to pull the heels up. And now the foot just stays flat. Breathing in, the foot is flattening. Breathing out, the foot is cupping. The foot starts breathing like a diaphragm. Same with the arms and hands. The arms are out straight, breathing in like the hand is flattening, the fingers are pulling back. Breathing out, the hands and feet are relaxing and just into a more cupped position. Breathing in, the hands and feet flattening. Breathing out, the hands and feet cupping. Relax the back of your neck. Relax the back of the head. You may feel that releasing up through the brain. It will release in quite a physical way through the diaphragm, in the horizontal through the brain, divides the top and lower brain. But allow that movement, allow that energy to go through your head, through your brain, so the hands and feet connect to the skull. To get this more physical motion of the hands and feet. Now we've got this up-down motion of the jaw, but notice how much it feels like a very subtle form of suckling. And that the lips can stay sealed from the memory of them sealing around the nipple. The tongue can stay sealed to the roof of the mouth as the tongue seals to the nipple. And there's this suction, it's like a suction on the in-breath, it's suckling. But you don't want to force it, just notice it's there, very subtle form of suckling. And this will bring you down, it's bringing you down in the face, into the mouth, and it will bring you down in the body, into the abdomen. And it'd be a much slower, more diaphragmatic breath. Notice how that kind of suckling connects right into the palms of the hands and feet. There's a connection through the whole body from that suckling motion right into the hands and feet, opening on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. Notice this, from the suckling motion, it's from the mouth and it's more physical, it's through the muscles and bones and membranes. It pulls the hands and feet up on the in-breath, relaxes the hands and feet down on the out-breath. And you can let the hands and feet become more relaxed, more soft movement. And feeling down inside your own pelvis. And the whole inside of the pelvis is the pelvic bowl, the pelvic diaphragm on the inside. Notice it reminds you of birth. You can remember the inside of the pelvis. You were born through there's that memory. You don't have to turn upside down, but as soon as you feel the inside of the pelvis, you feel the cranium, because it was your cranium that was inside the pelvis, and that they match exactly. As you feel that diaphragm inside the pelvis breathing, you feel the sides and top of your skull. They match each other and they breathe with each other. And notice how this suckling or sucking motion, it's pulling them together. It's a bit like it's pulling the pelvic diaphragm and the top of the head together. So you're shortening and widening on the in-breath. And on the out-breath, all of the muscles relax. It's a bit like the spine lengthens, the pelvic diaphragm relaxes, the top of the cranium relaxes. Then on this suckling in-breath, it's pulling them together, shortening and widening and tensing, breathing out, lengthening and narrowing. Now, if you're brand new, you may not be feeling this very strongly, but people who've been around will probably fall into this quite easily. And become aware of your rectum. Notice it feels a bit like this suckling motion pulls your rectum up on the in-breath. Suckling motion relaxes your rectum down on the out-breath, and this will just really slowly work the pelvic floor. You don't want to be tightening or anything with the pelvic floor. You just let it naturally, it's pulling up on the in-breath from this suckling, like it's sucking, it's pulling together. Breathing out, all the muscles are relaxing and it's drifting apart. So you breathe your rectum and anus. Rectums feel really quite nice. They house the kundalini. You may feel kundalini releasing from the sacrum. The rectum lines the sacrum at the back of the pelvis. So you get this suckling, the same as suckling as a baby. And it starts this motion, it starts orchestrating the bony movement of the whole skull, the whole body of the pelvis, everything moving in one direction on the in-breath. Everything moving, relaxing on the out-breath. And even though there's a pulling together on the in-breath, you've got to make sure the abdomen and the chest are actually expanding as you get a pull through the spine, but the front of the body, the chest and the abdomen expand. And you do a much longer, slower breath with this, and it aligns with the breathing motion of your mother's diaphragm and pelvic floor when you're in the womb. You might feel this pressure from the top of your head and under your pelvis that you're getting moved together on the in-breath. And relaxing apart on the out-breath. So this is quite deep for new people and may not be easy to feel and may feel counter to how it's normally spoken, but however you want to do it is fine. Now we're going to move, so we've had the emphasis on the lips and this suckling, the tongue and the lips. Now move the awareness up into the nose and the air, the breath. Notice how that sucking motion disappears. The energies are much lighter and your body isn't so much shortening and lengthening anymore. Through the nose there's more of an experience of everything is just expanding on the in-breath. Notice that whole suckling dynamic through your whole body. It's still there, but just very lightly, and you become aware of the dynamics and energy of the breath through the nose. Notice that going back into your brain. And notice you moving from one energy system to another. And you can play back and forth. You have both going. You get this very physical, nurturing energy of the mouth and this more spiritual energy through the nasal passageways, and it'll be levels of both kind of feeding in and out of each other. But as you come up into the nasal passageways and sinuses, notice how this relates to the cranial sea in the brain, the waters of the brain. Much deeper breath. It relates to the lungs. The nose and sinuses relates to the chest and lungs. The suckling motion of the mouth relates to the abdomen and pelvis. And then if you rise up into the ethmoid between the eyes and into the eyes, notice you get a bright light in your head and a bright light between your eyes and third eye. And you get the spiritual connection. Far below you there's still this suckling physical motion, but you move up into the spiritual. And this is the face, so it's quite forward. You can drop back and feel it from further back, so you're more grounded. You're in the breathing motion of the cranium, but you can feel it in the eyes and the ethmoid between the eyes. You get the higher, more spiritual energies. And you drop down into the large maxillary sinuses either side of the nasal passageways. Instantly you take a deeper breath into your lungs. You feel the lighter energies in the brain. Then you drop down into the mouth, and this suckling from birth, and it's more physical. You can feel your bones, you can feel your muscles, you can feel your tendons. You feel it pulling your diaphragm down under your ribs, it's pulling your hat. Notice how it connects straight physically through the whole body, right into your palms and soles of your feet. Pulling your palms and soles of the feet up on the in-breath. Relaxing them down on the out-breath. Feel it pulling the rectum up on the in-breath. So it pulls the rectum up and pulls the diaphragm under the ribs down. It pulls them together. You get this big, long, slow breath of the abdomen. And it's like you're drinking milk, you're suckling, you're receiving prana in a physical way from the universe. And there's this physical tension through the whole body, through the bones and muscles on the in-breath. And on the out-breath, all of the muscles and bones and diaphragms are relaxing. And it's all exactly connecting into this suckling. That big, long, slow breathing, abdomen, diaphragm breaths. Really grounding you. And you can feel down, notice you can feel the outside and underside of your pelvis, and it has a certain quality. And your urogenital diaphragm has a certain quality. But as soon as you view inside your pelvis, there's this feeling that your head wants to go down inside it, but best not to do that, because that's going to start a whole new thing. But you can feel the quality or the memory of birth held on the inside of the pelvis, in the pelvic diaphragm. You can feel the muscles and bones of the cranium relating directly with the inside of the pelvis. Then moving away from the suckling, it's still there, it just becomes lighter, moving up into the nasal passageways and sinuses. And notice instantly you move from the abdomen for the lungs, and you take a deep breath into the lungs. It's much lighter, and you feel the cranial sea in the brain. There's not this pulling, sucking through the body anymore. It's just there very lightweight, but when you become aware of the nose and the sinuses in there, it opens a new circuit that works in a different way. They're all facets of one breath. And then you come up into the ethmoid between the eyes and you feel this bright light go off. You may feel the top of your head release and a shaft of light releasing out through the top of your head up into the beyond. As the third eye opens, the crown chakra opens, and you start talking energetically to God. You beam me up Scotty time. The energies rise out through the top of your head into the beyond. And sitting back, those are the different areas of the face, but they relate exactly to the different areas of the brain, different areas of the cranium, and the whole skull breathes, the whole face, the whole brain breathes. You have the suckling motion at the base, you have the breath in the center, you have the eyes, the nervous system at the top, the cranial sea, the divine energies. Just letting it all be there. Feeling that through your whole body. Feeling that through your pelvis and your pelvis floor. Feeling that through your arms and legs. Feeling that through your spine, and just relax into your breath, allowing all of that. And as you allow all of the energies and sit back in your body, in your cranium, allowing this connection through the top of your head into the divine realms. When you let all of these energies flow together, it opens the crown chakra and you start communicating with the gods. And all of the different tensions, all of the different energies from your body can just release up through this shaft of light into the beyond. And genitalia can release. And that sexual energy transforms as it rises through the body, rises through the brain, rises through the face, and transcends and ascends through the top of the head. Your karma, your memories, your energies go to God. They go to the higher self. They go to the divine realms. And you can let the divine realms start talking back to you. The higher self start talking back to you. In reality, you're not separate. You are one and the same thing. And we connect this with holographic breathing. In a very light way, it orchestrates this connection to God, to the higher self, to the divine realms. And you can allow yourself to heal. You can let that intelligence, that healing enter every part of your body. Every cell can be informed. It's good. You need to allow that into your lungs. There's something, the lungs need healing, allowing that energy to release through your throat, through your lungs, to heal your lungs. Letting these energies, beyond energies, higher intelligence, healing. On the whole, we can't even see what it is, but it's just beyond our consciousness, beyond our normal reality, but it's divine. It speaks to us. It heals us. It's deeply, deeply caring. Everything can be healed in that channel. Everything can be made better. Allowing your organs to heal, your brain to heal. Allowing everything to heal. Allowing yourself to be God. Dare to allow yourself to be God and the divine. We are not a separate body from the divine realms. Our physical body is part of the divine realms, and if we wish, we can include the divine makeup and become the divine realms with a body. We are that. We just have to remember it. Allow that quality. And there's a spiritual birth. Notice how that is connecting right down into your pelvis, into your pelvic floor. There's an informing of our pelvis. There's an informing of the rectum. There's an informing of the genitalia with the higher self, allowing them to heal. Right down through your organs into your pelvic floor, being healed by God. God's hand in your pelvis, God's energy in your pelvis, relaxing and healing it all. So we're going to come back in about a minute, so just letting that subside. Letting that relax. And sending a thank you to the earth. There's this real feeling of creation. There's something going on in the pelvic floor around. It is birth. We're receiving something about birth into the pelvic floor. So just go a bit longer. Just allow that. Allow a knowing, a realizing in your pelvic floor, in your genitalia. It's a bit like we're getting upgraded. There's a knowledge around birth that is being received. You don't have to be giving birth, or most people are a little bit past that in this group. Certainly, well, I can't do that anyway, but I'm 66. But there's a knowledge of birth. There's a transcendental download from spirit about birth and the knowledge of birth into your pelvic floor, into your genitalia, into your vagina, into your penis, into your womb, prostate, ovaries, testes. Just allow them to receive this divine knowledge of procreation and birth, a real feeling of divine birth. We are being divinely birthed. So there's physical birth. We are being divinely birthed, new people. Allow yourself to be divinely birthed. letting the whole pelvic floor relax. That will transform everything. Notice how as that all relaxes, you also get this percolating of the energies there that rise back up and transform through the whole body. But let that be healed. Let that knowledge, that divine understanding percolate in your pelvic floor, in your genitalia, in your rectum, in your sacrum. And breathe. Okay, sending a big thank you to the earth. Big thank you to the higher self, the beneficial energies, the divine energies and rituals of birth. Allow that knowledge and thank that knowledge. And letting the energies go for love and healing back to the earth. Letting the energies go back to the higher self and beneficial energies for love and healing. And allowing yourself to be loved and healed. Letting the energies go out to all sentient beings for love and healing. And you are a sentient being, allowing yourself to be loved and healed. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourself to come back. Okay. So next week, wave your hands if you enjoyed that. Pretty well, everyone. Brilliant. Wave your hands if you hated it. I've never had anyone wave their hand at the hate bit, but they may just feel too embarrassed to do it. So wonderful. I certainly enjoyed it. I was not expecting to be born at the end there, spiritually born, but that, see this thing here, it was like a giant vagina that I was coming out of. It was all moving, it was all flapping. Hello. Just arrived. That's what your son said. Hi. Anyway, so next week, many people from here are on it. Anyway, we've got the Yellow Energy webinar. This session was very much to do that because one of the main organs of the yellow energies is the tongue. We work with the tongue and conception and this whole area through conception and through our whole lives. And at the bottom end of this circuit is the clitoris, the penis, and the urogenital diaphragm. So it ties quite well together with these. I know this might have felt very potent to people, but the advanced webinars are a lot more pokey and a lot more in depth. If you want to join that, you just go to the advanced webinar page on my website and you can join that. I will put a link to that in the newsletter with the recordings from this. Week after that, I may do another free one. I may do another one around birth, just to complete this one in a way. And then the week after that, we've got the practitioner training. It is still possible to join the practitioner training. everyone seemed to enjoy it. I mean, the channeling I do here is strong. All I can say about the practitioner training is that it's absolutely mind-blowing. The white light that came through in the last practitioner training was truly something to behold. I certainly haven't felt anything like it before, so you can still join that. At some point, I know the cranial sacral people want me to teach the cranial side of holographic breathing and the birth side of it. So we'll just have to see how that goes forward. But I'd like to do one with you guys as well, a practitioner training going through all of the different areas of giving birth within yourself and also to people you know. And the same way, I don't know if other people had one, but I wasn't expecting to get a spiritual birth at the end of that. So you have your own birth, you have your own spiritual birth, you have everything on all levels, but also you become a holographic midwife. So that is there. Everything's very inexpensive. I've got to tell you, I look around at other people's things and I'm about quarter of the price. Get it while it's cheap. Do as many of these as you can. I'm going to put my headphones in. And in the practitioner trainings, I mean, there is the material, but to be honest, it seems like the main work in that is people learn how to channel. They just start connecting. You know, there is what I'm saying, but on a very real level, everybody in the practitioner training starts making this connection to their higher self, the spiritual energies, and it doesn't really matter what I'm saying after that is all connected up, because they're connecting to their own connection to that and their own information. So the practitioner trainings are more of a kind of midwifery for connecting people up to their spiritual channels to be able to purvey this to other people. And you know, it's like there's doing holographic breathing that opens up a certain type of energy. They're teaching it. You know, I'm demonstrating, I can't say their name because it's from a training, but they're talking about how it brings it together into one thing, and that it becomes much more whole and more powerful than just doing it for yourself. Always, you know, we want to be able to contribute, and the doing of it and the teaching of it bring two halves of ourselves. It definitely brings a lot more spiritual energy and life into your life, and it really does feel to me that we've opened a gate this evening which will lead into holographic breathing for birth. I always thought someone else was going to do it, that the midwives would do it or the doulas would do it, but actually it's us. We're going to do it.